October 14th, 2023. Guys, a beautiful day in here in central Mississippi. Very cool, sunny, couldn't be better. Well, we got problems and we all know it. A very famous economist that built software that can just about do anything in the economy, in that technology sector. He's saying things that I've heard other people say, and he's saying that when a country goes broke, it goes to war. One reason, I think, is to hide how they've stolen everyone's tax dollars, printed more money on top of it, brought inflation sky high. And the other is to possibly make money in the stocks of the military complex. This is a sign of Bank of America. But in the case that when a country goes broke, it goes to war. Right now we're seeing that when a world goes broke, it goes to war. We're seeing it everywhere. Saudi Arabia appeared to be on the side of the U.S. Now they're telling both the U.S. and Israel to stop the attack back into Gaza. And it's getting very hairy. There's going to be a lot of people that they thought were on their side as far as Israel and the U.S., and they're going to find out that blood is thicker than water, I'm afraid, and thicker than money and oil. But it's saying that major financial institutions seem to be accelerating a trend that many conservatives find alarming, the closure of physical bank branches. Guys, in the first week of this month, October, there were 54 locations shut down. It says, according to a bulletin published by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, on Friday, yesterday, Bank of America led the way by closing 21 branches in just the first week of October. Wells Fargo was not behind with 15 closures, while U.S. Bank and Chase reported closing 9 and 3 branches, respectively, according to the Daily Mail. In total, some 54 locations had either closed or were scheduled to close between October 1st and October 7th. Of the overall closures, 3 in Louisville and Kentucky, 8 of the 21 Banks of America closures were in California. And guys, when we started seeing the banking crisis earlier this year, it started in California. Many of the banks that got pulled in or bought out were in California. They have the western side of the country has their own Federal Reserve leadership there. So expect more of this to happen. But now on Friday, 2 of the banks that were involved in buying up a lot of those first banks, says Friday major U.S. banks, including Wells Fargo and J.P. Chase, reported their third quarter earnings, increased revenue thanks to higher interest rates. They saw both banks' revenue increase. And where do the bankers come from? Guys, and just like wars and the petroleum problems and the banking industry, now all of this is done to bring down the U.S. Banks are closing branches faster than they're opening new ones. U.S. banks closed 3,000 branches last year while opening just 1,000. J.P. Morgan Chase led in branch closures last year, shuttering 144 while opening 133. Now, there's another way to increase the profits, especially for the upper-level shareholders and the bank managers, is to fire everybody. So, and then bring in AI, digital currency, and you have very little payroll. It says 1/3 of these closures have been in areas with large minority populations. Guys, and a lot of problems are happening. From 2020 till now, we've seen a 30% increase in inflation without an increase basically in income, depending on what you're doing. But if your income was basically the same, you've lost 30% of it in 3 years under the current administration. And it's going to get much worse than that. Again, you cannot plan, or you cannot just let a country collapse this fast unless you're very intent on doing it, and you've got a lot of help getting it done. It says more recently, changing consumer preferences and improved banking techs are the reason given for ditching brick and mortar locations. It shows that big bank investments in tech is paying off as new apps and websites with an expanding array of services have lured more customers. That they're going that way to digitize everything. They're going to take everything that you own and put it in a digital wallet that they control every penny of. Retired Managing Director of Wealth Management, formerly working in Swiss private banking, Clive Thompson, said at some point the global economy will enter a crisis. He believes banks will be closed. Then there will be an announcement about the rollout of the central bank digital currencies. Remember, the last collapse that we had, when we had to bail the banks out, they signed laws then. It's in effect now, where it's a bail-in, not a bail-out. They keep your money and laugh at you and lock the door. It says, at some point the world or country is going to go into crisis mode. I think it's the whole world we're looking at. When that happens, I think we'll close the banks. You'll wake up on a Sunday and hear the news. Monday, you'll get the announcement, we're getting the CBDCs. That's exactly how it's going to happen. And I saw it, and yesterday I read a report that the bank losses as far as write-offs or write-downs from people not being able to pay off their loans or cars or whatever it's on is at a record, the highest in billions ever in the U.S. history. And that's really what's happening. They're closing all these branches, guys, because they're going broke. And they're going to take the last little bit and rule the world with it. That's where the wars come from. Same place the banks come from. But it says strategic petroleum reserves are near historic lows. We've seen this in the last few years. And they've always said that, well, we're going to sell them at a certain price, and when the price goes back down, we can refill them and make money. And let's just read this, guys, just to let you know what kind of trouble we are in and how quickly it's coming. I want you to be prepared for it. It says, again, the petroleum reserves are near historic lows. Biden drained the SPR down to just 17 days of supply as the war breaks out in the Middle East. And again, think about it, the timing and everything happening if you're going to try to deplete your petroleum reserves to make money off of it when you're sending money everywhere else but the U.S., that's evil in itself. But now their whole theory was we can go back to Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that, Iraq or Iran, wherever, and buy the oil cheap. Now they're turning on the U.S., but it's part of the plan. Let me pull this chart up. And they're saying now that the current administration has no plans to refill this supply. This chart goes back to 1993, U.S. Department of Energy. Right here, when the administration started changing, we saw this start to happen. You could drill, there were pipelines, things like that over the 4 years before this. And suddenly everything goes down. In other words, the takeover had been completed. Now let's deplete the nation. Open the borders, get rid of all the military supplies needed to protect the country as well as soldiers. Force a lot of people out of the soldiers, police, things like that, because they wouldn't take their you-know-what. All of that's planned, and now this is planned, and you've got 17 days left is what it's saying now. You've got to realize that's just in the reserve. You still got dwindling oil wells supplying and pipelines, things like that, but they're doing everything they can to whittle that away. Complete collapse, guys, and when you're this low, and if anything happens where you can't get resupplied, then we're in trouble. Again, the interstates will be lined with cars out of gas. You won't be able to go anywhere. How will that occur? What did we see in Russia and Ukraine in the last month? The takeout of the ports, grain, other infrastructure, so they couldn't import and export, right? So right now, you take out a couple of oil rigs in the Gulf, you shut down the ability to resupply, and you sell off all the strategic petroleum reserves, guys. This was not used in the U.S. This was sold overseas, and who knows where the money went to. But we are in these days and times. I don't want to make it any longer than what we have to deal with. Of course, things are superheated overseas. You can go to warnews247.gr and check that out. Basically, the same things are happening. We're starting to see the incursions start to push in, but I thought we needed to back off and look at why, again, the people are saying, top people. Guys, we're watching this. You watch it. Updates will be coming. It's a heads up. Be safe.